Yeah, when I went into this, I was like, Yana Santos, how's this newcomer getting a shot against Holly Holm? And then I was like, oh, this is Yana Kuniskaya. Got it.
She tried to fool us.
Hopefully
She
she's
sure did.
hopefully she's not pregnant in this fight.
She did just have a baby, so there we go, and we get the post-baby first fight. Churn up the stats on that, Monk, because
it has to be bad.
There is a stat about coming back from your first baby, and the win rate is very low. But we are live, UFC Fight Night, San Francisco, San Diego, somewhere in California.
South Padre.
Vera versus Sandhagen. We're breaking down the full card from a DraftKings and betting perspective. Get a little fantasy action going. Got MonkMMAtics here, the mathematician, the MonkMMAtician, breaking down the numbers. Got Big Marley here, the sleeveless one himself, 17-inch guns, breaking down the stylistic fights, and we'll try to put it all together and come up with some good approaches for DraftKings and FanDuel. You know it, Joe. You know it. Fucking going Cobra Kai, DFS style, DFS Army style for this one. Just came back from the gym, doing a little training, little BJJ.
Looking like Rambo now.
Get the look going. All right, so let's get right into the card. Okay, and we were just talking. It's a crazy card because a lot of inside the distance fights, a lot of like 5, 6, 7 minute props on these fights. So these are, I think we're going to get a different card from what we saw last week with the low scoring Joe Calderwood making the optimal scenario. Bad decision with Usman. By the way, Usman won that shit. I'm just saying it. And then Colby beats Leon. Saying that. Got to say it at the top of the hour. Colby, sorry, he's going to win. YOLO at me. Send your hate. Meanwhile, first fight of the night, we got Haley Cowan taking on Tamires Vidal. Cowan is now a minus 125 favorite, and this has flipped because Tamires started off, I don't even believe this minus 265 because I didn't see it, but she was legitimately hanging out at like minus 135. And now she's plus 115. What the hell's going on here? Tamires is taking on Haley Cowan. Cowan is a former Olympic gymnast that has turned into an MMA fighter. So, Big Marley, let's take it right over to you here. There's a couple of interesting things stylistically that I want you to go over, but are these girls good? That they don't have a lot of experience, especially Cowan.
No, I actually don't think either one of them are very good, to be honest with you. And just to make it short and sweet, this is a fight I'm just going to skip over. I'm going to act like it doesn't even exist. The first fight of the night has been killing me lately anyway, so maybe one of them will put up 110 and it'll kill me right out of the gates, but at least I won't be loaded up on the other one. But yeah, I just think that this is one where neither one of them are very talented, but Cohen is the more athletic girl just everywhere. I think she's going to have the better movement on the feet, the more crisper strikes. I think she's the better wrestler, better in the clinch. But Vidal, I'd say, is more powerful. Maybe she could be okay if she's in top control, but I think Haley could do the same exact thing. It's whoever's on bottom could probably struggle, but that's where all the points would be scored. If one of them can get into top control and just let some strikes unleash on the ground, that's the only way this fight's going to score well without a finish, and I wouldn't project a finish in this one. I like Haley to win 3 rounds probably just by being the better all-around fighter here, but she probably doesn't even score 10x her price tag, so I'm just going to avoid it. I do think Haley might be in play for a bet. I might end up having something on her. But yeah, I wish I got the opening line at like plus 200. That was a little wild.
A lot of money rolling in. Now, Monk, you are a MonkMMAtician. So I'm going to throw you a little MMA math. And you explain this to me, okay? Now, Haley Cowan has only lost by submission. She is a submitter, so to speak. She likes to go to the ground, don't have those BJJ skills, get submitted, right? You know how Tamires Vidal wins a lot of the time?
How's that?
By submission.
Well, that's not true.
I did a little 1 + 1 equals Vidal wins by submission.
Yeah, there is the math there, and the experience level is there as well. I'm going to agree with Marley on this one. I like What's that?
Heel hook. Kimura.
Yeah.
Triangle choke.
Well, I can actually break this math down for you pretty easily. The first submission is against a 0-0 fighter. And then the second one against Braga, that's a boxer, just a full-on boxer who turned MMA, who has no ground game at all. So it's not impressive. She's not a BJJ specialist at all. She just tapped out a boxer.
Okay, so she just has a little skill.
Yeah, and she was not looking good in that fight either. Like in the second round when she got the finish, like right before that, one of the Minotauro, one of the Nogueira brothers, is her coach, and he's like, he just does not sound happy. He's on the mic. He's like, yeah, she looks gassed. This isn't looking good.
Oh, really?
The other girl looks a lot fresher, and then she gets the takedown, and it goes into a heel hook, and she wins. But she's just has not been impressive, and she goes out there and gets the flying knee in her UFC debut. So I just think that people are excited about that, and they want to see that again, maybe. So that's why they were high on her, but I don't get it.
Yeah, the other side of the MMA math is her flying knee was against Ramona Pasquale, so it might as well have been against me at that point. I'm about as good of a fighter, it seems like, as Pasquale. That's not true. She's probably better than me. She's probably better than me, but but I don't think Vidal is better than Cohen here. I think Cohen's obviously going to be the more athletic. Vidal does not come in looking very athletic at all. She did score very well, but again, that was against Ramona Pasquale. Cohen scored terribly in her Dana White Contender Series fight, like 2 points a minute, 61. She wouldn't have even scored 61 points in that win. So I think she does win, but I think it's a very low scoring fight. I will have some of Haley Cohen, I think, just because I'm going to try to keep it a little bit contrarian, especially after last week. I think I have PTSD after that, after last week's card. So give me Cohen for the win. I just don't trust Tamaris Vidal at this point, not with a win over Ramona Pasquale.
I'm going the opposite way. I am going with Tamaris, primarily because I think Cohen is just as bad as any of the turds that Tamaris has submitted. She's an Olympian, not at wrestling, but at gymnastics. That does not translate to MMA in the same way that wrestling does. That's not a fighting discipline. That just means she's a tough chick that has muscles. But you know what? Give me the one who comes from Brazil, the land of submissions and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I'm just going with that. And anybody who gets a first round finish in the UFC against a female, any female that gets that's something. That's impressive. I don't care who it is. That's impressive. I'm impressed. And the other one's 24. This one's old. I'll take the young one. Could have gotten better since her last fight. All right, you ready? Second fight on the card, and this one is bananas. Vicious Veniscus Salvador taking on Vitor Altamirano. This is a close one, guys. 125, minus 125 for Vicious Veniscus. The comeback for Vitor, plus 105. I believe we're going to have a fairly healthy inside the distance prop on this one. No, not that great. Minus 160, fight to end inside the distance. A little surprising there. Big Marley. Really close fight on paper.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's a close fight. I don't really even have a strong lean in this one. I would really prefer to fade both of these guys. I wish they were matched up against other people because I don't really care too much for either one of them. I think that Altamirano he's just an awkward striker. But I did end up fading him in his last fight, I believe, as a favorite, and that crushed me because he scored like 130 something points, I feel like. And then Salvador, he's just a sloppy striker. He's dangerous on the feet, but everything he's thrown is from his hip, and someone with some straight shots is just going to make him pay for that eventually. I think Altamirano could be that guy. He's going to have the crisper, straighter shots here, but he's not a powerhouse striker at all. I just think he's probably the more well-rounded of the two. I think he could mix in takedowns, have success on the ground here. So I'm going to go ahead and take Altamirano in this one because he's the cheaper guy. And I think that he could, if he mixes in the ground game, I think he could, rack up 100+ strikes on the ground, which could really help. I'm just not sold on either one of these guys. So it's not something I'm going to be heavy on, but I think it's a good MME fight. If you're building from the optimizer, let it throw in either guy, get 20-25% of either one of them. I'd be fine with that. But if I'm throwing them in a single entry, it's going to be the cheaper guy for me. So go Altamirano.
Looking at their stats, one thing that they do have going for them is some volume. Both guys, for whatever it's worth, and there's only, there's limited data here. I think Altamirano 3 fights and just one for Vicious Veniscus. But, 8 strikes per minute, 7 strikes per minute. You got Altamirano going for takedowns every once in a while. So, Monk, how do you foresee? Like, is this a fight you think is good for DraftKings, little scoring purposes?
Historically, absolutely. Altamirano and his win over Daniel Da Silva, like Marley said, 133.85. Granted, it was against Daniel Da Silva or Lacerda, who's also on this card. 0-3, gets another fight, seems to get finished in every single fight.
You almost can't count that one. You got to throw it out.
Yeah, exactly. Vinicius Salvador, again, DWCS fighter, fought Shannon Ross. All Shannon Ross does is give up points to fighters. He would have scored 135 against Shannon Ross, which is ridiculous. And that is consistent because Cledson Rodriguez just scored 133 against Shannon Ross. So that is consistent from the Shannon Ross side. So I really don't know what to think about either of these guys. Therefore, I'm just going to fade the more expensive newcomer this week over the UFC vet. By vet, I mean he has 2 UFC fights to 0 for Salvador, and he's the cheaper fighter. So give me the guy who's cheaper, the one who's been in the cage for almost 20 minutes compared to 0, and the guy who scored 133 points in the UFC. I like that. 4.5 points a minute. He's only $100 more than his average salary, and he did make the optimal lineup last time. So that's a bunch of upsides for me. So just give me Victor Altamirano in a fight that should be good, a flyweight banger, but one that I don't know a ton about these guys.
Let's move on. Next up, we've got Manuel Torres taking on Trey Ogden. Torres is coming in at -150. Trey Ogden +130. Here we have a solid -245 inside the distance prop. So this one looks good from a potential finish point of view. Big Marley, what can you tell us about these two fighters?
Yeah, I still want to look into this one a little bit more, but to me, it kind of looks like a grappler versus striker matchup where I think Torres has the edge on the feet and Ogden has the edge on the ground. Torres is powerful on the feet. He should be higher volume in this one, but Ogden just beat somebody who was more powerful and higher volume on the feet and just kind of made it more his style of fight. He slowed down the pace, and all of his finishes are on the ground. I believe Torres has been submitted 2 times, so I know that's math that you like, Geek. I'm going to go ahead and ride with that math. I'll go ahead and take Ogden in this one by submission. He's just not a very good wrestler, so I don't think he's going to score well if he doesn't get a finish here. But I like grapplers who are underdogs. This is a card where I like a lot of underdogs, so I'll just be mixing in, all the different combos, hoping I can hit the right one. And then Torres, I think he's in play as well. If he wins, he probably scores 10x or more, but he's also in play for the finish. I think all of his wins are finishes. So he's dangerous. I'm just not very sold. He's a little bit sloppy as well. There's a lot of sloppy fighters on this card. And his Frank Camacho win, I don't know. I just wasn't super impressed by it. Camacho's hittable as is. I think that Ogden has better defense than that. He probably avoids that first round right hook. And if he does, then I don't know that Torres is going to get the win in this one. So give me Ogden.
Monk, do you have a strong take on this one? When I take a look at the stats here, you don't have much on Torres at all.
No, that's correct. And he did win against Camacho, like Marley said. That was a decent win. I mean, it's a named guy who's had, and not in front of me, but I would guess at least 10 UFC fights. Yes, he is a bit, older in the tooth, I guess, or long in the tooth, as they say. Frank Camacho has been through a ton of wars, so it's not too surprising he got KO'd. That said, Torres would have put up 7 points per minute and 114 in that fight. I'm going to agree with Marley again. I love when we're on the same page. It makes me feel so good about these fights. I like dogs this week too, man. $7,700 for Trey Ogden for a guy that was supposed to get smashed by newcomer Daniel Zellhuber. He proved everybody wrong in that. He busted parlays, Ogden did. He busted DFS lineups in that one. He lost to Jordan Levitt in a very, very close split decision. Another guy who's been in the UFC for a while now. think that Torres could probably score well, but Ogden is probably maybe a bit more well-rounded and could limit Torres's potential. So I'm with Marley. I like Ogden for the win. I don't know how much I'm going to get to him in DraftKings, but I will play this fight, and I will be playing the underdog as well. I don't like his DFS scores, but hopefully he can play upset again and put up a decent score here with some grappling. So give me some Ogden here this week.
You know, the line moved quite a bit, and there's a lot of movement towards Ogden. I did place a bet on Ogden already, and I'm going to give you a little bit of my thinking on why I placed that bet, and I was able to get it in yesterday when I started looking this up for a better number here. But here's the thing. I like situations like this where Torres might be slightly being overrated because he knocked out a named fighter in Camacho. But I think Camacho's fucking shot. I think he's a shot fighter 100%. So if you eliminate this win from his record, who the hell? This is a guy who's taken losses to grapplers on the regional scene not 10 years ago, like a couple years ago. And Ogden is a grappler who wins by submission. There are reasons why I think the line moved. It was correct. I think the opening line was the overreaction to the Camacho sort of like name brand win. Fuck that. Camacho's losing to everybody. Remember when Ryan James came in, knocked his ass out? That dude hasn't won since. Has he won since?
No, he's looked pretty bad in his last
Justin
few.
James, that's right. I mean, Benny, fine.
Yeah, Justin James is not great.
Oh, come on.
He's the guy that bet his entire fight purse on himself and then lost.
Yeah, the whole thing is ridiculous. So, you know what? That's that overreaction shit. I love it. I love it in football. Those are my favorite bets. Team coming off a big win. They look unbeatable. Next time out, look like shit. Give me that betting approach every time. Eventually, it's going to lead to making money. So that's my thought on this one. So I'm with you guys. Trey Ogden, underdog play. And I think he could finish by submission. All right. Next up. This is kind of a must, I think, on DraftKings. I feel like you have to have Carlos Vergara in your lineup. Or one of these two. So Vergara taking on Daniel De Silva. Vergara, a minus 240 favorite. Come back on Silva plus 200, which is surprisingly more about Vergara not being very good than De Silva being all that great. The inside the distance prop for the fight is minus 550. I want to show you something here. The fight time on this one on Prize Picks, which is tied in, is it still here? Yeah, 5 minutes, over under. Which one are you taking? Big Marley. Clicking the button here. You put money on it. Over under 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
50-50 prop here.
I'm not playing it. I don't know. I wouldn't play it.
You're that scared that it's going to go under or over. I mean,
yeah, I don't know if he's going to get a finish. There will be a finish, I would say, but I don't know if it's going to be the first round, second round. So I don't know.
You're not like, oh, that's easy, over, baby. No worries.
No, I don't think so. I think he can finish him in the first round.
You got to have a piece of this fight in your DraftKings lineup, one side or the other, is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So break it down for me, Big Marl. How does it go?
Yeah, De Silva he's a dangerous 2-minute fighter, pretty much. I'd say he's the more dangerous fighter in this one in the first 2 minutes. And then after that, he just falls apart and he just feeds his opponent's fantasy points and they end up on the optimal lineup. So yeah, I mean, Vergara is not a fantasy king at all. Like, he does not score well minute to minute, but he is going to be the better overall striker, the more powerful guy, the better wrestler. And once Silva falls apart, he's going to be a lot better everywhere. And he probably gets a finish at some point, whether that's in the first round, second round, or the third round. But if it's in the second or the third round, he's probably doing a lot more work leading up to that finish because Silva will be gassed out and just letting him do whatever he wants. So I was hoping that we would get Vergara at lower ownership because he's not a good scorer. But yeah, I like CJ a lot in this one. If Silva wins, he's going to score 100+ points and end up on the optimal lineup. So you can't fade that if you're making a lot of lineups. But I'm much more interested in the Vergara side, especially, in like a single entry or cash game, something like that.
He's got no history of winning fights in the UFC.
Yeah.
So I think it's shocking how low the line is. That's just like saying Vergara also ain't very, not very good. That's what it's saying. He ain't shit.
Yep.
Monk, thoughts?
Man, I'd like to agree. Probably CJ inside the distance, but I mean, the script, as the kids say. I maybe have read the script for this one. Could you imagine everybody's parlaying Vergara, which should never happen, by the way. Please don't parlay CJ Vergara. Everybody's putting him in their parlays. Everybody's playing him in their DFS. Watch this one go to decision. Watch Daniel Da Silva win a decision here and get a 5th UFC fight after losing his first 3. I think that would just be the most comical way to end this fight. But real quick, Da Silva is 1,200 under his average salary. Can you believe he was 8,600 against Altamirano, 8,200 against Francisco Figueiredo? He's only been the underdog one time, according to DFS salaries, against Jeff Molina.
Even odds against Francisco. Wait, no. Oh, not Davidson. Francisco Figueiredo.
Yeah, little
like, what?
Figgy. Vergara doesn't even score 3 points a minute. He put up 83. I mean, he lost to Tatsuro Taira, who I think is a killer at flyweight. He lost to Ode Osborne in his debut, who's an okay fighter. And he beat Cledson Rodriguez, who is a decent fighter in the flyweight division as well. The problem I have with Vergara is he is $2,167 over his average salary. You're going to pay $2,200 over this dude's average salary only because he's facing Daniel Da Silva. So I will have some of this fight. Honestly, I'm hoping Da Silva wins just because at 6,900, I could get a ton of leverage on this guy. I don't think Vergara is very good. I don't think there's any way in hell he should be $9,300. And we'll see if he can pay that one off. I'm a bit skeptical here.
Yeah, I feel like Da Silva's our Shannon Ross, though, of this card. It's not that I'm targeting Vergara. It's that I'm targeting against Da Silva.
The guy that's handing out points like it's cotton candy or something.
That's effectively where I was going to go with it as well. It's styles makes fights, and this guy Da Silva has a style of getting smashed. Just like,
he shouldn't even have a 4th UFC fight, honestly.
Yeah, and he's never even been to the 3rd round. I think he's been to the 2nd round like once or something like that. So yeah, that's why this fight is lined to not go the distance. It's not on the Vergara side. He's no great MMA fighter. It's just targeting against a guy who completely falls apart after 2 minutes.
This is the poster child for low variance or high variance, low level fighters.
I do think you have to load up on Vergara.
You're probably right.
I'll be overweight. Yeah.
Minus 550 inside. He's not that expensive. Like, salaries are almost irrelevant on this card. That also helps the argument a little bit. Like,
I want to pay up somewhere, so I'm gonna, and I don't think I'm gonna have a problem with salary this week. So I'm gonna have a lot of Vergara. He'll be in more than half my lineups.
That's what I'm saying. His salary won't be an issue here. You can pay up. And you got to find these pay-ups that are gonna pay off. So with that being said, next up we've got Trevin Giles taking on Preston Parsons. Even odds, minus 150, both sides. The fight ends inside the distance is a solid minus 240 here. A little surprising at how I'm personally surprised at that number, but maybe Marley, you'll explain to me why this fight seems so likely to end inside the distance. Trevin Giles still living off the win over Roman Dolidze, looks better and better all the time, but he's one of these fighters too that's just like all over the place. So tell me how you see this one going down.
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's supposed to end inside the distance because both guys always lose inside the distance. I don't think they've ever lost a decision. All of their wins have been getting finished in this one. So that's why I believe. It's not that they're great finishers themselves. It's more so their defense, I would believe. But I would give Giles.
Here's a decision win over Evan Elder when Preston.
No, lost. They've never lost a decision.
Lost inside the distance. Yeah.
It's always been finishes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But yeah, I would give Giles the edge on the feet, and then I think Parsons is the better grappler in this one. I don't know that Parsons is a good enough wrestler to really have a lot of ground success, though. And if this fight takes place on the feet, it's not going to be a lot of minute-to-minute scoring. Giles never scores well, so I'm going to be more so on the Parsons side. I think he's live for a submission in this one, and if he can get it, he could score well. If he doesn't get the submission, I don't know that he's going to score well unless he can just dominate the fight on the mat like he did in his last fight, but that was against a smaller guy. I don't think he can have that same success here. So it's more so submission or bust, but Parsons or pass either way for me.
Yeah, not too much going on there from a scoring point of view. Monk, what do you say?
I agree again. Trevin Giles is an awful scorer, just over 2 points a minute, 67 per win over his last 5. Over his career, it's not even 81 points. And you're not getting any savings. I mean, you're $20 under his average salary. His average value per win is 6.3. That is an awful number. I'm just probably going to X him out even if he wins. I don't really think he's going to score well. Give me Preston Parsons as a dog, 4.69 points a minute against Evan Elder. 108 is what he put up. He is 250 over his average, but he does score well, takedowns and control time. Hoping for a finish here, a sub finish, just like Marley said, or some racking up of control time in order to get a good score. $8,000. It is the top end of the underdog salaries, but I like it this week over Trevin Giles. And Giles, when he loses, gives up 113 points per loss over his last 2 losses.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I'm on the Preston Parsons side. He does things that, that inside the distance prop, I don't really get it. And I would be betting fight over 2.5 rounds personally, just because they've been finished doesn't mean shit, right? It doesn't mean shit. But when you look at the statistics of both of these fighters, the guy who does the things that score well, 5 strikes per minute, 3 takedowns in 15 minutes, I'll take that. And Trevin Giles, you don't know who you're getting. And he'll stand there. I don't understand how this is minus 240 to end inside. He just stands around. Like, he'll dance around for a while and just waste minutes in a round. That's not what leads to finishes. So, yeah, give me Preston. I think you could fade T. Giles. The only thing, Giles throws that jab out there, gets a knockdown, starts pulling like one of those situations. You remember that one fight where some dude just kept jabbing and get knocked down like 4 times? It was the highest scoring knockdowns fight ever. I can't remember who it was. Marley, remember that?
Was that Frivola?
Oh, it could have. I don't even remember.
I hate the ones where it's a leg kick like 4 times. I don't know. I think it was like Jeremy Stevens, like leg kicked Gilbert Melendez a whole bunch, and he fell down like 4 or 5 times, and they gave him a knockdown.
Yeah, knockdown. I'm like, oh,
I hate that more so.
Shit. That's what I'm worried about with Giles. But other than that, I'm not worried about fading Giles. I'm fading Giles.
Officer Giles, exactly.
Fuck the police. Coming straight from the underground. Sorry.
Exactly.
NWA, back in the day. That was my thing. All right. Next up, Steven Peterson taking on Lucas Alexander. Peterson, Ocho, coming in at minus 160. Alexander plus 140. The fight ends inside. It's even odds to go the distance, and I'm not surprised at all. There was that Big Marley. Ocho is not a finisher. Like, this dude is not finishing fights. How do you see this one going down, though? I don't. And how do you see them matching up in terms of Alexander's skill set compared to Peterson's sort of all-purpose capability?
Well, I'd say Peterson is. He's probably the more well-rounded fighter. He's going to be the more active fighter, I guess. The guy that's working more minutes a minute, whether that be on the feet or looking to wrestle. And I'd say he has the better cardio in this one. Alexander's really just a striker, but I give him the striking edge in this one. I think he's the more dangerous striker. I think he's going to have a big speed edge. I think he's a more technical striker. And I don't trust Peterson to fight smart, to be honest with you, which in this fight, it would be getting him to the ground because all of Alexander's losses are by submission, I believe. And that is the best path to victory here for Peterson. Just make this a dog fight and get Alexander to quit. And then Peterson can score well if he's putting in a lot of work leading up to it. But I like Alexander as an underdog. If Peterson wants to strike or if Alexander can just stuff takedowns, I think he can get a first-round knockout, just be too much for Peterson on the feet. And I also think if he can have a 15-minute striking match, I like him to win that. So give me Alexander in this one. He'll be a top 3 underdog for me on the card.
Wow. I was not expecting that. And MonkMMAtics, the MonkMMAtician, nodding your head in agreement.
I just love it. I think it's a good stand here. You should be able to get really good leverage on Alexander, who I do not expect to be, to have any kind of meaningful ownership. Steven Peterson, everyone sees him as the UFC vet. going against the guy that lost in 2 minutes in his debut against Joe Anderson Brito. I think a lot of people are going to be on Peterson, and I don't want to pay up $1,100 over his average salary for less than 90 points per win, guys. We're barely 10xing here. If he puts up his average. The only thing is Lucas Alexander. I mean, you got to throw that fight out. He gave up 105 against Brito, but you got to throw that out. The one thing I don't like is the strength of schedule. It's about 10 to 12 points better for Steven Peterson, but you would expect that. Like I said, he's been fighting UFC caliber guys. He's beating guys like Chase Hooper and Martin Bravo. Both very close fights, both not very good fighters, losing to Julian Erosa, Alex Caceres, and Violent Bob Ross, Luis Pena. I guess I like Peterson to score.
Those are real losses. And he's got
exactly.
Against real opponents.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at Lucas Alexander. Who the fuck is he being?
I like Brito, but Kilburn is garbage. There's nobody on that list that.
This man does not have a win against anyone even mildly used. I'm not talking about like UFC caliber. I'm talking about like who got into the UFC but got kicked out for sucking. You don't even have that here. You've got just literal zeros across the board.
Yeah, a guy named Reggie Mack, which I do like that name.
Kilburn's a UFC washout, I believe.
Yep, that's true.
That's what you're
looking for.
But he's not good. Yeah, he lost to the human highlight reel.
Well, he got in there for COVID purposes, not for real. You know, he got the COVID called up. Like, dude, we need someone to fight Billy Q. Fucking, you know, get Kilburn on the phone. Like, I don't know. All I'm saying is prove it. All right. Steven Peterson beat fucking Hooper. Now, you might not like Hooper. You want to diss Hooper or fucking Hooper sucks. I like Hooper, but whatever. You want to say that? That's fine. But he got to win against a real UFC opponent.
Alexander would beat the shit out of Hooper on the feet too, though.
No. Hooper whoops this dude. Submits him.
On the ground, he might, probably he submits him, but not on the feet. He has nothing to offer Alexander on the feet.
I think Hooper might be able to take this guy on the feet. He's improving.
Well, you haven't seen Alexander fight then.
No. But Hooper's improved. Hooper's been improved. So anyway, yeah, I'm on the Peterson side, but I agree with you guys. I don't know that this means I want to play it on my DraftKings lineup. I don't think I've never seen Peterson do anything that scores well.
Yeah, this fight sucks.
Yeah,
I'm hopefully fight. Alexander can. Plus, like, show me the guy who's actively rooting for Steven Peterson, and I'll show you a guy that I don't want to have a beer with.
let me wash the taste out of that fight. Your mouth for a second here with a little Paige.
There you go.
She's at the punt pass competition.
You just keep that tabbed up all day for, like, you know, when you need to cheer yourself up.
I do. It actually brings me a smile all throughout the day. Now, a reminder, if you like videos of Paige running around during the show, smash that like button. Let us know. I'll get more of this.
Just keep it running in the background for you guys.
If you don't like it, listen, if you don't like watching videos of Paige,
comment below. Let us know.
Combine, let us know why, and then we'll make fun of you. Okay. I can scroll through. There's more. Which bracket? Wait, which bracket did you vote for? Is your bracket busted? Hold on. Where's my bracket busting video? Anyway, we'll get to it. Smash that like button. Let us know you're out there, guys. All right. Continue. That just distracted me. What are we doing? Oh, yeah, MMA. All right. Next up, Tucker Lutz taking on Danielle Pineda. And we got another fight of a guy that doesn't tend to last very long. And I have a sneaky feeling this one will carry some extreme inside the distance odds. But Tucker Lutz is a minus 280 favorite. Pineda, the comeback, plus 240. Fight inside the distance, a less good than the previous fight, minus 245. Okay. Big Marley, Pineda, Lutz, what do you say?
Yeah, I'd say this is like a better version of the Vergara De Silva fight, where Pineda's probably the more dangerous fighter early in this fight. All of his wins, actually, like 25 wins or something like that, have come inside. 27 wins. They've all come inside the distance. So if this guy wins, he's going to finish Tucker Lutz, and he's going to be on the optimal lineup. He's 37 years old now. He has looked bad. He got his ass kicked real bad in his last fight, and he just took his way out. He took a draw or no contest, whatever it was. And that left a bad taste in my mouth. And I think this is a tough fight for him because Tucker Lutz is a good wrestler. And I think he also has the striking edge in this one, especially after the first, few minutes of this fight. Pineda's decent on the ground, but he's going to have to do it off his back. I don't think he can take down Tucker Lutz. He went like 0 for 9 in takedowns against Feely or something like that. I think Tucker Lutz is the better wrestler here. He can grind out minutes on the ground if he wants and score well in a decision, but he can also finish the fight on the feet or with some ground and pound on the ground. So I like Tucker Lutz in this one. I'll be overweight on him. And then Pineda is just kind of a dart throw like De Silva, because if he wins, he's going to score well. I just don't want to put too much stock into that happening. So he's going to be like a 10% type of guy for me.
Which one of these is going to be the more aggressive grappler of the two?
Like if we're just rolling, I'd say Pineda's throwing up more submissions, but Tucker Lutz is going to be the much better and more aggressive wrestler.
He's got the wrestling, but Pineda busy from his back.
Yeah.
Okay. Monk, how do you see this one going down from a scoring perspective?
Tucker Lutz will likely be my highest exposed fighter this week. I don't trust Daniel Pineda at all. This is a dude who I believe has at least 2 no contests on his record, and that's not counting the previous fight against Andre Feely. I believe this dude has been busted for PEDs a couple of times. Now he's 37 years old. Like, I don't trust this guy at all. In his one fight, he scored very well. In his one win in his last 5, he scored very well. But he is 1-3 with 1 no contest in his past 5, giving up like 2.3 points per minute in takedowns and control time. I think Lutz has got him here. He'll be my highest owned fighter. Like I said, I don't mind paying up for him. I mean, I kind of do mind paying up for him just because, he's 1,300 over his average. His average salary in his last 5 in his last 2 is 7,900. So I'm not too excited about paying 9,200 for him, but I don't trust Daniel Pineda at all. So give me Tucker Top Gun Lutz here to hopefully win inside the distance and retire this Pineda dude. Get him out of here.
I'm on board with the Lutz play as well here. Although, like with everything else, this card, Pineda is kind of like first round or bust a little bit anyway, and so you gotta get a little taste of that just in case. But I'm on board. I like Lutz here as well. Next up, we got Chidi and Jokwani taking on Albert Duraev. Duraev is the underdog in this one at plus 132. Chidi, the favorite, minus 150. Fight goes to decision. Wow. Okay. Fight ends inside the distance. Again, higher than I was expecting. Minus 280. A little surprising there. Big Marley, one of the guys' names ends with an EV. That tells me he must be some form of wrestler from the Balkans or the former Russian republics.
Yeah, I mean, if his name didn't end in V, I would honestly have a lot less interest in him. But he's going to have to look like a guy that has the last name ending in V here. He needs to get the fight to the ground early and often, and he needs to control the fight for 10 plus minutes of this fight to win, I believe, which he couldn't do against Buckley. He had 2 takedowns against Buckley. He averaged less than a minute of control time per takedowns in those ones, and he just doesn't look good on the feet. Chidi and Jokwani is going to have a big edge on the feet in this one. I think he's going to end up knocking Duraev out if Duraev can't have a ton of success on the mat. And based on his last fight, I don't know that he can hold Chidi down for very long. So 15 minutes is a long time. I think Chidi gets a knockout at some point along the way. But Duraev is an underdog that we need to target as well, because if he wins, even if it's a decision, he can score 100 plus points as an underdog, because he would probably have 5 plus takedowns, 10 plus minutes of control time. And that's what we love on DraftKings. I just don't think he's good enough to do that. So I'm more interested in Jokwani, but I feel like my exposure will be pretty fairly even in this one, because I'm fine with just going on underdogs this weekend and leaving a bunch of money on the table. Duraev's a cheap guy that I'll be fine throwing into lineups on Rainmakers. You can make a lot of cheap lineups this weekend. I'll be heavy on Duraev in that also. So I won't be too mad if Chidi finds a way to blow this and Duraev gets the win. I'll be exposed to both of them.
Chitty chitty bang bang. That's what they call it. Yeah, Duraev, the stats here are not showing a ton of action or activity from Duraev. 2.9 strikes per minute. Chitty's not amazing, but he does have 75% takedown defense, which is good enough to keep it standing, get back up, and keep this a striking battle that he should win.
Yeah, I don't know about that. His takedowns were to Dusko Todorovic and RoboCop. I just don't know. I think you got to play both sides. Obviously, Chidi can throw down. You have that huge first round upside, as we've seen, I believe, twice now, where he beat Dusko right before the end of the round, and he beat Marc-Andre Barrios in less than 30 seconds. An absolute mauling. So guy scores very, very well. He's coming off that big loss, though, in which he completely gassed after having Gregory Rodriguez basically dead to rights. And you're still paying up almost 600 over his average salary. I will have some drive here because if he can control the early get past the early onslaught of Njokuani, I think he does have a chance. If Chidi death gasses again, he does have an easy chance of just getting this to the ground, riding this dude out for 10 minutes and getting the 2-1 split, the 29-28 split decision there. So I do like this fight as a whole. I'm just not convinced that Chidi can. I'm not convinced that either of them could win. So for that reason, I will be playing both sides of this fight. I'll probably have pretty even ownership based on the salaries. But yeah, I'm going to have to be exposed to this one here.
Yeah, I'm surprised at how high the inside the distance prop is on this fight, considering
It's probably because Chidi took a man's life in 30 seconds. We're probably still feeling the ramifications of that.
Yeah, it feels like an overreaction because I don't really see
Duraev gassed out pretty hard in his last fight.
That's true. He gassed too against Buckley. Man, these guys might have a round of cardio between them.
Yeah, you should be losing to Buckley either. So yeah, I mean, I'm on the Chidi side of this. I think he could keep it standing potentially and just outstrike Duraev, maybe get a finish somewhere in the second or third round if he can keep his gas tank going. So I'm going to go with the Chidi side of this one. I think there's a lot of live dogs, so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's yeah. I mean, Duraev's fine too. I get the like, but I'm going with Chidi here. All right, next up, Manel Cape taking on Alex Perez. Cop. I hear it different ways. Manel
Freeze,
Cop.
buddy. I'm a cop.
Yeah. Minus 170. Come back to Perez. Plus 150. Fight ends inside the distance. Why am I not seeing it? Here we go. Minus 205. So again, a lot of these inside the distance props are just a little bit higher than what I would have thought when I first saw the fight. And then it's like, oh, wow, that's a little surprisingly high. And that's how I feel about this one as well. For better or for worse, Big Marley, I'm a little surprised it's minus 200. You tell me why. But how do you see this one going down? You got a couple of I like Alex Perez, veteran, only lost to really, really good opponents. And he's an underdog. We betting this?
I might.
Got to look.
But it's projected to end inside the distance because it's really targeting this whole card. It's targeting against people who get finished all the time. When Perez loses, he gets finished, usually in the first round. And that's what Manel Cop needs in this one. He needs a first round knockout. And he's going to have the striking edge. He's going to be the better striker, the more dangerous striker in this one. But Perez can keep it close on the feet, just volume-wise. He's not a bad striker either. It's just he's a good wrestler. He needs to go out there and wrestle from the get-go. And I think if he does that, he's going to score well. He's going to score more than 10x if he gets a win here. But he has 100-point potential. He could get a knockout of his own, I guess, but he could get a finish on the ground. And he could also rack up 5 to 8 takedowns in this fight, get 8 to 13 minutes of control time, score 100 points in a decision. So I'm more so on the guy who can score minute to minute. That's Alex Perez, rather than targeting a guy who is a first-round knockout or bust fighter. On DraftKings, that is. Manel Cop can win a 15-minute striking decision. He can maybe get a takedown of his own. He's just not going to be the better wrestler. In this one, he's not a wrestler. He's a striker. and he doesn't do much throughout the fight. He had a knockdown and a reversal in his last fight. That's 15 points and 2 moves, and he still scored like 72 DraftKings points. So I'm going to fade Cop and just hope he does not get that first round knockout. Give me Alex Perez on this one. I think he can win 2-3 rounds.
I like it. Monk, how do you see this one going down from a scoring perspective?
Well, I came into this one fully expecting to be fading Alex Perez, and then I saw his DraftKings numbers, and they jumped off the page. 4.68 points a minute is what Perez is scoring over his last 5. 106.6 when he wins. He's almost 1,000 under his average salary. He's outscoring his opponents by over 3 points a minute. He's got a top 10 ceiling. He scores 1.35 points per minute in takedowns and control time. His strength of schedule is very, very good. Both guys are actually. So there's a ton of scoring stats that I absolutely love for Perez. The problem is he does get finished in that first round. And Manel Kape loves to throw knees and kicks, and Perez loves to rush in for takedowns with his head down. So if Perez can avoid the knees and kicks from Kape and can land some takedowns, I love Perez here at the low price of $7,300. That said, Manel Kape could come out here and finish this dude in the first round. Doesn't score well per minute, less than 3 points, but 103 per win. That's a decent number. I just don't know if it's going to be decent enough at the expensive salary of $8,900. So I will have both sides of this fight. One side for Kape's obvious early first round, early second round finishing upside, but the rest of my ownership is going to be on Perez for the very surprisingly high DraftKings upside that he possesses. So I think a lot of people are going to be off Perez. I think he's going to be very low owned, and I think that's a big mistake here this week.
Hell, this fight might not even happen. I've never seen so many canceled fights on somebody's Topology page before. Yeah. God damn, Alex Perez.
I mean, is it him or is it Matt Schnell? Like, who the hell? What is
Schnell and Askarov? Yeah,
he's a lot of missing weight and stuff, but damn, that's a lot, man.
That's a lot of misses. I'm like, how often has this guy fought? And you know what? He has not fought in a while because of all these cancellations. But you know,
well, and he's had about 3 minutes of fight time over his past couple of fights. That's it. So. It's few and far between here for Mr. Perez.
Yeah, I was just reliving my kill shot call of Perez against Shorty Torres, and I was talking size matters and all of that back in fucking 2018, and he scored like 130 in that one fight. Scored an incredible score. I still remember it. Like I remember shit like that. All right, I don't like Manel. That I don't particularly care for Manel.
He's super athletic, but.
No, I don't like his wrestling play. He never scores well, so he doesn't do anything on DraftKings that causes him to put up a lot of points. There's no takedowns here. If it's not a fast finish, there's not enough volume here to do anything for me. So he needs a knockdown and a finish. I will play him for that possibility in a lineup or two, but that is not going to be somebody that I want in a lot of my lineups. You know, throwing aside the early finish prop, which I don't really understand. I guess I have to accept it. But I just find it bizarre. For that reason, you got to play some Manel because that prop is big for inside the distance. It's just surprising for me. So I don't get it. But I assume the money people who are betting that get it better than I do. But I don't get it.
It's all because of what Marley said. He's spot on. A lot of first round losses or finishes. And he's been, I think, finished in 6 of 7 losses. So that's probably where we're at with that one.
Yeah, Joe Benavidez knocked him out in the first round, like a washed Joe Benavidez. So
that's a tough look.
I mean, with like 10 or less lineups, I'm not going to get any Kape. With 20 or less, maybe he makes one. He's more of like 150 lineup type of guy for me.
I'm like, was Joe B still washed back in 2018? It's been a while.
Hey, if you're pulling Megan O'Leary, I don't think you can be called washed at anything.
He's 38 now. He would have been 33 or 30.
That had to have been his only win. Like, it's probably a lot of red if you scroll down, and then he's got, oh, no, he did better than I thought.
He was winning fights. He was winning
Ortiz,
fights. Yeah. He was still winning fights. The wash happened a little later. So, no, I'm not going to hold that too hard against him.
Yeah, he's winning that life. Good for you.
Yeah, Joe. I'm not going to hold that one too hard against him. All right, next up. Somebody mentioned Triple K. We've got Andrea Triple K Lee taking on Macy Barber. Sorry. Thought that one through before that.
No, it really works in this case.
Somebody mentioned, Triple K in the chat. I don't know if I want to go by that nickname.
Well, her nickname's KGB, but yeah, that one, from what I hear, is pretty appropriate as well.
Yes, Andrew Triple K Lee taking on Macy Barber here. Macy is a minus 260 favorite. Comeback on Lee, plus 220. Fight goes the distance, minus 225. We're probably going to see a long fight here, Big Marley. I got to tell you something. Strikers, female fighters, you don't lay minus 275 ever on anybody. But does that mean that I should lay plus 235 on Triple K?
So
you ain't fucking laying it on Macy. Hell no.
So here's how I look at it. All right, if you project somebody to lose, but you think there's a 10 to 15% edge over the books, do you bet that fighter? So that's how I look at it, because I think they're giving Andrea Lee a 30% chance here, right? And I think it's closer to 45% chance in this one. So I bet numbers. So I'm betting Andrea Lee this weekend. I think this line is crazy. I think she's the better striker of the two, the more dangerous striker, the crisper striker. And I think they have the same weaknesses, and that's being put on their back. I think Barber is probably the better wrestler, the more aggressive wrestler, and she can spend time in top control. That's why she's a big favorite here. But if she can't get takedowns, I feel like Lee's going to win this fight on the feet. And if Lee wants to beat her to the punch and get takedowns of her own, I think she can have a lot of success on the ground as well. I mean, Andrea Lee, she dropped Vivian Araujo with a jab in her last fight, and then head kicks her, falls flat from hitting the cage, and then she somehow loses the fight later. But I don't know that Barber's eating that shot, to be honest with you. I think that this line is just way off. I think, especially with judges lately, how are you going to possibly trust that big of a favorite in this close of a fight? You bet numbers, not fighters. So give me the plus 230, whose name happens to be Andrea Lee.
I mean, last week alone, the judges were just literally throwing guesses out there at the end of the fight. They weren't even watching. They're just like, all right, 30-27 Vittoria. I'm like, what? Oh, okay. What? All 3 rounds? So you can't trust shit. Anytime you know it's going to decision, you can't be laying minus 275. What are you, nuts? And Macy Barber's not going to be the one initiating takedown, is she? Isn't it Lee who's going to initiate the takedowns here?
I mean, it should be Barber. That's her biggest path to victory, in my opinion. Or just making this a brawl where she's just throwing combos trying to get Lee against the cage. But Lee is the better kickboxer.
Lee looks like shit when she's on her back, though. She does not do well off her back, but she's also more aggressive on the takedowns. 1.6.
That's the issue, is whoever's on their back is going to be losing this fight if it's not on the feet. So, and I mean, who's that going to be? I don't think it's 70%. Even more, 75% likely that it's Barber. So this line is crazy to me. I don't understand it. And I thought for sure it would have changed already, but it's still just sitting there.
Lee is also from Texas.
No, she's from Louisiana. Maybe she
doesn't she?
Maybe she has Texas as well, but I think she's a Louisiana.
Okay. Louisiana, Texas is the same shit. You realize?
Yeah, basically.
It's the same shit. All right, MonkMMAtics. What do you see here? Anything kind of differ? Are you on the Barber bandwagon here? Are you on the Triple K train?
We're going to go with Andrea Lee for DraftKings 7,100. She's the only option. I mean, she scores well, 3.5 points a minute, 110 per win over her last 2. Over her career, it's 91. So a bit less, but still respectable, especially at 7,100. She's 1160 under her average salary. Yeah, I can't trust Macy Barber at all. In her last 5, she averages 2.29 points a minute and 65 points per win. Over her career, it's only 84. And you're $500 over her average. It's trash. I hate this fight. I don't like Macy Barber. Both of these women lost to Roxanne Modafferi. That's pretty much all you need to know. Give me Andrea Lee for the huge DraftKings upside at a tremendously low salary. And I might be Xing out Macy Barber out of every lineup. 150s, I might not have anywhere I might not have any of her in 150s. I can't stand the fights here. I can't stand her DraftKings numbers. Yeah, she beat Jessica I. The stats say she should have lost that fight. And if you listened last week, you know how I feel about Jessica I. She beat Miranda Maverick. The stats say she should have lost that fight as well. This chick could be 1-4 in her last 5 very easily, with her only win coming to Montana De La Rosa. So give me Andrea Lee here for the win and the DraftKings upside, actually. Lee has made the optimal lineup in 2 of her past 3 fights also, and it's women's flyweight, which is now officially the highest percentage of optimal lineups for any weight class. It just beat out featherweight. It's like 55.7% optimal women's flyweight fights.
I almost don't want to share that fact. I feel like I don't want to get out there too much.
Well, I've been sharing it every week for 6 months and nobody seems to care. We're still 20% under leveraged on these fights. No one rosters women's fights. So find spots like this and get them in your roster, guys.
Let me ask the crystal ball. You guys don't know this, but I have an actual bet prediction machine available to me. And I actually want to ask it about this fight. And it's an AI-driven platform, machine learning. So should we?
No way it spits out 30% chance for Lee.
No, let's just ask it. It doesn't tell you percentage. It just tells you yes or no.
Oh, okay.
So should we be putting our money on Mace? I'm going to ask a bet because the crystal ball, it's DraftKings. Should we bet -2? Should we risk $275 to win 100 on a likely decision fight that's going to go to the judges in Texas with 2 female fighters that will probably look even at the end? And we're all going to be sitting there like, what the fuck? Let me ask crystal ball, Oswami, Bishop, what should we do?
Hell no, to the no, no, no.
That's the only answer I was expecting.
The bishop has spoken. There's no more discussion needed. The bishop has spoken. All right. What the hell did I just do? There we go. All right. Next up. Nate, the train. What is he? The train Landwehr taking on Austin Lingo. Nate's coming in at -230. Come back on Lingo +190. I'm just looking at the line movement here, and we're seeing a little money in on Lingo, a little money out on Landwehr. Fight ends inside the distance, a mediocre -160. So Big Marley got Landwehr, Lingo. How do you see this one going down?
See, I think that it could be interesting early. I think Lingo is the better boxer in this one, and Landwehr is a slow starter. Lingo's got power. He's got a lot of early finishes, and Landwehr, since he's a slow starter, he's also been knocked out early a couple times. And in his last fight against Onama, he was knocked dead, I think, in the first round. Like, it looked like in the movies where he's flat as a board and he gets knocked out like 8 feet deep. And then from hitting the cage, he wakes up and he comes back better than he was before that, and he dominates Onama for the rest of the fight. Like, this guy is just better as the fight moves along. He's the more well-rounded fighter, the guy that's going to be, fighting for your money, fighting every minute of this fight. He can mix in takedowns. He scored like 104 or something like that against Onama, and I think Onama's a lot better than Lingo. So I do think Landwehr's in play here, but at the same time, if Lingo just goes out there and knocks him out in the first round, he's absolutely on the optimal lineup. He'll be under 10% owned. So I have some Lingo interest in this one for that early knockout potential. But if he doesn't get the knockout in the first, 4 minutes, 3 minutes of the fight, I think that Landwehr is going to take over here and probably win a clear decision, whether that be an easy 2 rounds or he takes all 3.
I like it. And Monk, from a scoring point of view with Landwehr and Lingo, how do you see this one going down? It's a fight we need to target heavily. The inside of distance prop, not crazy high.
I would rather not, just because I can't imagine paying $9,400 for Nate Landwehr. That said, he has made 2 of 3 optimal lineups, but he only averages 93 points per win. He's $1,600 over his average salary. I do like his value per win, which is over 13x. So there are a few upsides. I just think his salary is too high. That's the only reason I don't like him this week, to be completely honest. The rest of his stats are like middling to above average for the card.
Nothing that blows me away here, including
the
ITD prop that says, he's going to score 100.
Yeah, so nothing that's it's right down the middle of the card basically. I don't mind him. I just think he's way too overpriced this week, which means I will be over the field on Austin Lingo, even if I don't like his scoring either. 2.6 points a minute, 82 per win, but he is $1,800 under his average, and if he finds that finish early on, it's going to be a huge score. He's only 6,800, so I think he's a good punt play as well. 9,400 is a lot for Nate Landwehr, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he does anything that scores that well. The inside of distance prop is not screaming, this guy is going to finish early. So outside of, the requisite, I don't know, do we have to say it every time? Like the requisite, if I'm making 150, I probably need 12 to 14% of every fucking fight.
Right. Yeah.
Just in case. Like that's the requisite. Anybody who can get a knockout early, it's got to get a little taste. But more than that,
a lot of people when I make 150, I still say I'd fade at least like 3 to 5 fighters on average.
Yeah, well, with the fighter, I don't want to do that here. I might you'd get a requisite taste, little GPT 150 taste.
I mean, even with 20, I want a little bit of lingo in this one. To be honest with you, I was building lineups today. I think I got like 13 to 16 lineups hand built already, and I think I got lingo in 1 or 2 of those already.
That's the thing. Everybody's can easily just play like 12 to 14% of these these lower owned guys. That's just going to be so you have to take a stand. I think you either have to X them out completely or you got to go like 20-25% minimum just to get different in some way, because everybody's going to have like 10% lingo and 10% whoever. It's like you got to go 0 or way more than that.
All right. Next up, we are now dealing with my girl, Holly Holm, taking on Yana Kunitznaya. Holly Holm must fuck up your system, Monk. She must be like, she sends your stat system haywire. Like, when you try to run the Holly Holm numbers, it's like, yeah, she never goes for a takedown. Oh, she got 11 takedowns in one fight. And she never throws any volume. She threw 190 strikes in her last fight. You're like, what the fuck is going on? What is this? She evolving? She's like 50. How is she changing her style from fight to fight? I don't know. But here she takes on Yana Kunitznaya, a.k.a. Yana Santos. Even Fight Odds hasn't figured out that she's gotten married and changed the name yet. Get with the program, guys. What the fuck? Holm, why is there no odds? It's a late fight. What is going on here? Holm is minus. Was this put together late? Where's the odds for this?
No, it's been like this all week. I don't know.
Why is it doing this? What the fuck is going on? Oh, you know why? Because Santos and Kunitznaya, it's fucking up their system. Names.
Oh, yeah. You're probably right. It's probably under Santos, the rest of them.
Yeah, that's DFS Army style. You change up the names. We don't know who the hell it is. Oh, and don't even start when you have 2 players with the same names in MLB. Forget about it. We got projections going for pitchers. That's supposed to be a hitter. Why is everybody's last name in MLB Garcia? What is up with that? Carlos Garcia. Oh, there's 7 of them.
You're muted there, Marley.
But he's all muted. He's saying funny shit. No one's even hearing.
I said, but we fixed it, guys. Don't worry. Don't be deterred. Go sign up. DFSArmy.com.
Promo code Sleeveless. On that note, if you're enjoying the podcast, let's take a moment once again to hit the like button. I can wait. Smash the like. Subscribe to the channel. You want these podcasts kill shot every week. Breaking down these fights. Last week you got fucking Yanal Ashmoz as a kill shot. Not during the show. In the Discord after, because I changed my mind. But whatever. In the Discord last week you got the Hardy play. Little drop a note in there, guys. You're going to feel like shit when Hardy wins and you don't have any exposure to her. And it's like, oh, I got 20% on that. Fuck yeah. Got lucky on that. That's not what I meant. I didn't make it 20%, but nonetheless, it was awesome to see. The Yanal Ashmoz kill shot, everybody was crushing it last week. And of course, Paige Spiranak. This is not Van Zandt. This is the better Paige. Although Van Zandt is pretty fucking awesome too. And I'll give her extreme props as well. That's the better Paige. Okay. Anyway, where were we? Holly Holm taking on, you need a chaser after, You need a moose boosh after some of these fights. A little distraction, a little page. So Holly Holm taking on Yana Kunitznaya, aka Yana Santos. Holly's only minus 204. Again, surprising. But then, do I want to lay minus 200 on any striker female fighter? I don't care how much better she is than her opponent. That's what this one comes like. I'd rather lay. Okay, you ready for this? Big Mark, hold on. Let's bring this in. I'd rather lay minus 200 on Holly than I would on Macy Barber. Like, if you give me the option, you're forcing it, gun to the head. You got to lay 200. Which one are you going to do? I'll take home over Barber.
Of course, yeah. I think Barber's the worst play on the worst bet on the card, to be honest.
That means you have to bet her opponent.
Might have.
Kind of you have to go.
May or may not have already.
Triple K. All right. So how do you see this one going down? Holly Holm doing her thing. Low striking rate.
I mean, to be honest with you, I would just X them both out on DraftKings. That's what I'm going to be doing. I don't really have any interest in Holm at $9K. I should be able to have the salary to pay up if I want to, but I'd rather pay up for more or pay down for less. But I do think Holm is the better fighter. She's the much better striker in this one. And I mean, against that Irene Aldana, she looked like a damn good wrestler too. I think she could end up looking like the better wrestler in this one too. The issue is that she's 41 years old, damn near 42 years old, and she's going to fall off at some point. You just can't fight at the highest of levels forever. And she lost a fight in her last match that I don't think she should have lost. And I would imagine it's still just going to be downhill from here.
Did she lose that?
No.
I thought she won, but still, I mean,
no.
Yeah, I thought she won, but still, you shouldn't have made it close enough for the judges to screw it up, even though they're incompetent. But on the Yana Santos now side, she just had a baby in the last year, so I wouldn't expect the best version of Yana either. So I really just don't know. And the way I'm going to handle it is I'm going to X both of them out of DraftKings. I'm going to pick Holm to win, probably score 70 to 80 points, and it won't even matter. I won't be betting either side of it. Might not even watch it. So give me Holm, and I hope this fight does not end up on the optimal lineup, because if it does, it's not going to be a good night for me.
You know, one time I faded Holm based on that same reasoning. That I was like, Holm never, and this is a MonkMMAtics. You would have these numbers, right? Like Holm had fought again and again, and she never put up good numbers. And I was like, she's high priced. And then she gets like 11 takedowns and puts up a monster score. And now, yeah, that was against Aldana, puts up a 133. And I'm like, all right, well, now you can't fade Holm anymore. She goes for takedowns.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't mind her in this fight. She also might be 41 and almost, getting closer to 42. She just signed a 6-fight deal at 41 and a half years, a 6-fight deal with the UFC. So someone sees something in Holly Holm that maybe the rest of us don't in regards to, having her get old.
I think they did that with Anderson Silva when he was like 40 years old too, and that didn't turn out very well.
Well, they don't have to make her fight all 6 times. By the way, she could just retire. But I do want to say this. I haven't noticed that she's any less good than she was. Like I have seen zero visible.
But that's the issue. Like last week, I would have said the same thing about Usman, and I think there is a fall off on Usman. And I also I wasn't paying attention to all the narrative stuff. I didn't know about, his bad knees. Like that could have played into it. And we just don't know about this kind of stuff. Like we don't know if Holm is dealing with anything like that. I mean, maybe you guys do. I fucking don't though. So you just never know when the declines come. And I am terrible at picking up on when it's going to happen. I just like to think of the person from what I've been watching on film. That's how I pick who I'm going to end up, picking in my predictions and betting, is from watching them fight in past fights. And I just can't guess that they're finally going to fall off the cliff. So I've been getting crushed on old fighters, to be honest with you, which is what is making me completely stay away from this one. I don't want to trust 41-year-old Holly Holm, even though she is the much more skilled fighter.
Monk, these numbers on the stat screen say this lady does not score well.
That's usually true, but in her last couple, you mentioned it, Irene Aldana, tons of points. She put up 107 against Megan Anderson. So I mean, I respect the Aldana win. I think Aldana has potential to be the 4th Mexican champ here at some point. And Holly Holm, that was a great win for her. I think Yana's path to victory is, holding her up against the cage and doing a lot of stuff. That's going to be darn near impossible to do to Holly Holm the way she fights. Scores 3.5 points a minute over her last 5 and over 101 points per win. That said, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get to her at $9,000, and I'm not interested in playing Yana Santos at all. Like Marley said, she's coming off of a pregnancy. There's word that she could have possibly fought pregnant in her last fight, so I'm not really looking to play either of these fighters, but I do like the Holm side to win.
I like Holm a little bit more for this reason. I'm going to paint a scenario here. So when Holm was going for the takedowns against Megan Anderson and against Irene Aldana, it was both because she was kind of not clearly winning on the feet. Like she was definitely, especially against Anderson, she looked bad on the, like Anderson was piecing her up. Anderson's not very good, but she can throw fists. And if Yana is doing it, Yana doesn't go for a takedown. So if she's at all competitive in the fight, maybe it will inspire Holly to go to her takedown game, which has worked before. Maybe that's her old age like thing that she does. And one thing about Yana, she can't stop the takedown. She is not good at stuff. She's 50%. That's against takedown defense. That is not against the who's who of wrestling female fight. As a matter of fact, I don't even know how she acquired a 50%. None of these women tend to go for takedown. Aspen Ladd, take her down. Fucking scream from hell on top of her. But beyond that, Yana, she can't stop a takedown. If Holm wants to do it. So I am scared now and shell-shocked from these other fights where Holm just started wrestling. And if she does it again, she might score really well. You yourself said female fighters, they put up bigger numbers than we expect. So you know what? As crappy as her historical DraftKings scoring figures look, I've got 9K on this card, not that expensive. There's no one I really need to pay up for anyway. I'm going to have some Holly Holm. I'm picking Holm to win. I think I agree with you both. You can fade Yana Santos in this one and not really have too much concern.
Here would be my drawback on the Holly Holm wrestling. Her best one was against Megan Anderson, who has 0 takedown grappling defense at all. So that I don't think that counts at all. And Irene Aldana is really a pure striker as well. She really does not have much of a ground game either, where Yana Santos, Holm should be the better fighter and have a clear striking advantage in this one. And Yana should be the one going for takedowns in this one and going to try. I think she's going to be getting this fight against the cage as much as she possibly can and just eating minutes away, no fantasy points happening. And that's her best shot at grinding out a decision here. So that's kind of how I see it happening, is Yantos getting this fight against the cage. She doesn't want to hang out at range here. And that's going to take away from what Holm can do. And I don't think Holm is going to have, I don't know if she's a better wrestler than this. So I think Santos is a decent wrestler, actually.
Well, there you have it. Plus, she practices grappling every night.
Yeah. Against a bigger opponent.
Yes. Similar size to Holly. All right. Main event. Sandhagen versus Cheeto Vera. Sandhagen a -180 favorite. Come back on Cheeto. +158. +160, we'll call it. Fight goes the distance, -140. This is skewed to fight goes the distance, Big Marley. And Big Marley, you were one of the early Sandhagen believers. Bet Sandhagen every fight he's ever fought. For a while. It's not the losses, because Big Marley don't lose. He don't take outs. But
I've lost before once.
Yeah. Then you learn your lesson. So here we've got an interesting one against Vera, and the general consensus about this fight, a couple grappler. I mean, I guess they say a couple strikers where maybe Sandhagen more likely to go for a takedown, I guess. But the more important thing is most of the consensus is Sandhagen winning rounds until Vera lands a death blow. Is that how you see it going down?
Yeah, I would say they're both really good fighters. They're both very well-rounded fighters. But Sandhagen is definitely a better minute winner, especially in the early parts of the fight. If this was a 3-round matchup, I'm lining Sandhagen minus 230 or more, to be honest with you. But the 5 rounds is what makes it very interesting because Vera looks like the best 4th and 5th round fighter in the freaking UFC. And he starts turning it on in the 3rd round too. So I feel like we're going to get a clear 1st and 2nd round win from Corey Sandhagen here. And he could really just win all 5 rounds because he is an active fighter. I'd say he's the better wrestler of the two. I like him to be the better striker, the more active striker. But Vera is more dangerous. He's the more dangerous striker, the more dangerous grappler. He just doesn't look to wrestle much, and he doesn't strike at a high enough pace, especially early in the fight, to really be able to win minutes against a guy like Corey Sandhagen. So I feel like it's an easy 1 and 2 for Sandhagen. Round 3 could start getting close, but give me Sandhagen there. And then rounds 4 and 5 are when I think Vera might end up taking those rounds if he doesn't get a finish as well. But I haven't stacked any fights in GPPs in a long time. I think this is one I'm a little bit interested in stacking because I think that Vera could put up 10x in a loss in this one, especially if he's able to get a knockdown or 2 along the way. And then Sandhagen at 8,600, he's going to be my favorite play on the slate just because he's got 5 rounds to work with. He fights at a high pace. And even if he doesn't want to go for takedowns, he can score 10x or more in a striking-based decision with 25 minutes to work with. So give me Sandhagen as always. I think he wins, 3 or 4 rounds on the scorecards.
Yeah, outside of a finish, and they're not predicting a finish here anyway. It's certainly minus 140 or 130, whatever it was, to go the distance here. Now, Monk, as far as the scoring goes for these guys, Sandhagen has got the volume. Neither one does a whole lot of grappling, although I hear people talking about Sandhagen more likely to go for takedowns, but he doesn't do it very often.
No, neither guy does. I expect this to be a stand-up fight. I mean, Sandhagen scores 0.13 points per minute in takedowns and control time in his last 5. Marlon Vera is at 0.12. And in their career, it's also very, very similar. So about double those numbers. I like Sandhagen here. I think the line is way too wide, though, man. I don't understand it, to be completely honest. I agree with Marley. Sandhagen should, win the first couple. Vera is a very slow starter. We know this. But lately he's turned it on, scoring 114 in a win. He ate 271 significant strikes against Rob Font. Didn't even look like he'd been touched. 92 against Dominic Cruz. He looked super fresh after that. Late fight Marlon Vera is a thing to behold. Also, his defensive pace is extremely good. So even if Sandhagen does end up with a win here, I don't like his score for DraftKings. Vera in his one loss gave up 59.7, or in his last loss, I should say, on average in the UFC, 6 losses. He's giving up 73 points per loss, guys. I don't see how Corey Sandhagen is going to. I mean, I love the $8,600 salary. I absolutely love it. I just don't see how he's going to pay it off. I mean, short of
a lot of rounds.
Vera's never lost a 5-round fight, though.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have to land 200 strikes on this dude, and even then, you might not win the fight. I love this fight for DraftKings. Corey Sandhagen also gives up 110 points per loss over his last 2 losses. I absolutely love this fight for DraftKings. It's my favorite fight on the card. It's probably the only good fight on this card, and I'll have a ton of this one. I don't know, man. Cheeto's coming in $800 under his average salary. Like, I like Cheeto a lot this week. I like Corey Sandhagen too. The strength of schedule is much better for Marlon Vera. That's the only thing. Man, just get these guys in your lineups. Oh, also, it should be mentioned, Marley mentioned the stack. I should say, Corey Sandhagen making the optimal lineup in a loss. If you stacked that fight against, I believe it was Peter Yan, both guys made the optimal lineup there. So Sandhagen has performed well in a stack before, has made the optimal lineup in a loss. He put up like 75 or 78 against Peter Yan in that loss. So that is a very interesting stat there.
Do you know how much Rob Font scored in his loss to Cheeto?
Rob Font put up, let's see here, 114 points.
Oh, shit.
Is that right?
Yeah, he had like
I guess so.
250-something strikes, I feel like. So I think Corey Sandhagen has that in play in a 5-rounder.
Yeah, I get these guys in your lineups. That's all I got to say. I'll be heavy on both.
Marley, Corey Sandhagen, over 107.5 significant strikes. Lock it in.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about lock it in. I don't like the L word at all, but I like it.
I locked in JoJo over 63 and over 70 strikes last week. 105. Locked in Casey O'Neill over 70. Got 140 strikes.
I haven't had time to think about all this prop stuff because freaking Underdog hasn't posted theirs yet, so I'm still behind. Thanks a lot, Underdog.
They only posted this like an hour before we started I didn't have a chance to really go through it, but I was thinking about the Holly 47.5, and then I'm like, man, it's 3 rounds, and Yana starts pushing her up against the cage. 3 strikes per you might not get there. I'm looking for locks, and that ain't it. Anyway, all right, so here's Paige again. That'll do it for the main card breakdown, boys. Now let's talk some kill shots. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, we have a little competition going with the kill shots here, and I may be out of reach at this point. We're 4-1.
It's only March. How long are we doing? How long are we going?
I feel like it's till May.
We'll see then.
Not that much.
The arbitrary end date.
I don't
Coming
know.
back this week.
Wasn't it UFC 286 Prudential Center live final? Oh, did we ever talk about what the end date was?
No.
No. Oops. All right. Let's talk kill shots. I think the reason I don't think that the main stack is in play on this card is because I think we're going to get a lot of underdog wins. Yeah. I think we're going to need a lot of finishes. I think we're going to get a lot of 100-pointers. Last week we were talking about before the show started how your card to win the tournament on DraftKings was like a 590. You didn't even have like a 600 or barely edged 100 average per fighter. I think we're going to see more like a 120 per fighter, or not 120. I'll give it a 1009. I'm going to give it like 105, 108, like somewhere between a 105 and 110 average score for nuts, both as underdogs and as favorites. So probably looking at like a 670, 660, 680 kind of nuts score. So let's talk about which underdog on this card can deliver the goods with the kill shot. Big Marley, I'll start with you.
You can send it to me last because I got 3 options. So you go.
You've got 3 options. All right, Monk, go right ahead. Who are you looking at this week as your kill shot?
Yeah, I got 3 options as well. I'll go with the least likely to be picked. We'll go with Victor Altamirano here at 7,900.
Altamirano, okay, yeah, that's an acceptable kill shot right there. I like it. Man, I've got a few that I like as well. There's so many that I think are live on this card. I'm going to go with Trey Ogden here for the whole fast finish narrative thingy that I talked about during that fight. I want to kind of go with it. So I'll go Trey Ogden, but there's multiple underdogs that I think are live. And Big Marley, where are you going with this one?
I'm going to go with the guy who averages 0.4 fantasy points, Lucas Alexander, first round knockout.
Oh, my God. Put that in the contest. You'll be out. You'll be donezo. No chance of coming back.
He's my guy. He's in like too many of my 13 to 16 that I've already built.
Guys, if you like the breakdowns, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Get these every week. We got everything going on here on the DFS Army channel. Of course, smash that like button. We appreciate it. We like to know that you're out there watching. And it lets people know that we're doing these videos, and we'll keep them public and all of that. So smash that like button. And, of course, we will be back. Or the last bit, of course, if you want to check out DFS Army, the tools, the cheat sheets, the optimizer, how you can attack. Sunsu used the optimizer last week and took down the tournament.
Did very well, yeah.
Crushed it.
There's no optimizer better to crush MMA than the DFS Army Domination Station. Everybody knows it. The whole industry knows it. People who are winning, they use it. Get in here. Sign up for the MMA package. You get the cheat sheets from Big Marley, from Monk. You get kill shots, not just from us and the true final, like the Yanal Ashmo's kill shots that were put in to the Discord on Saturday, fight day, when we got all the information. You get the best info. But you have people in our Discord that are really, really sharp bettors as well, sharp DraftKings players. They're taking tournaments down on the regular, and we're sharing information. We're going back and forth, and it's just a great community to talk about the fight. So make sure you check it out. To my people in the Discord, love you all, and we're going to see you guys next time.